Today's episode is sponsored by Dim, who are set to head out on their first ever West Coast tour this March. The tour starts on March 20th in Seattle, Washington, and proceeds to head through Eugene, Oregon, Richmond, California, Pomona, California, San Diego, California, Gilbert, Arizona, and finally wrapping up on the 30th in Las Vegas, Nevada. For venue info, opening acts, and other inquiries, contact at Dim Screamo on Instagram. Hello, and welcome to Everything Remade, a podcast that I hope is about growth as much as it is about music. I'm Edie Quinn, and we have a great show lined up for you today. Before we get started, though, I'd like to remind you about our Patreon page at patreon.com/humanmachine, where you can go to sign up and support the show, read zines, get music sneak peeks, and so much more. That's patreon.com/humanmachine. And now, I'd like to play something for you. You're hearing Flower by Genuine Connection, featuring my new pal Angel Christian on bass and vocals. The song comes from their new EP, I Swear, which you can find at genuineconnection.bandcamp.com.
One of the first things you mentioned is, going back to talking or thinking about like that earliest memory of music in general, right? And I think for me, I grew up in the church in the South, like in the Bible Belt in North Georgia. And I just started singing as soon as I could remember. And I think that's because I was around music and church choir and stuff like that. So I feel like music was constantly, around. And when I was 3 years old, my parents became jail ministers, and they would actually take me to the prisons with them and have me sing hymns to the prisoners. And that's literally one of my earliest core memories that has to do with music. And I remember I would sing like Amazing Grace and older hymns like that. It was the late 90s, early 2000s. And I just remember the room being so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. And now that I'm older, I know that I love seeing when kids start to get involved and obsessed with music. And that was me at one point too, like all of us, who are super in love with music, and it's just been such a part of our life. But I think like I just always knew I wanted to sing. Like that was never even really like a thought for me, because, your memory, at least for me before the age of 5, is super blurry. And there's like a few core memories here and there, but that one really, really, I always remember. So I guess just since I was 3, honestly, I just knew I wanted to sing and create, and I wanted to affect people's life in a positive way. And I think singing and music has shown me that is so powerful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's really weird when you think about like, that is kind of it's an almost intrinsic gift that we're given, like just being able to sing, right? And so making music is like, it's in there. It's like in there from day one. And there's so much that gets in the way, like in society, where we tell ourselves like we can't do this, or society tells you, like in general, the general you, like that you can't do this because of whatever factors, but we're like born doing it. We're born making music almost, and
Yeah.
something happens to different people, obviously, where it's just like that's not a thing that they pursue, or that particularly interests them. But there's a lot of people that I speak to, and stuff, where it was the other thing. It was like outside forces telling them they can't, and that's something that, like, I've always, like, that's like the punk rock part of me, right? Of course, that's like, no, nobody can tell you you can't. You can, and it might not be for everyone, but like, you absolutely can, and the only person that can decide if it's bad is you ultimately, But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I mean, you're just doing it, and so there was never a like I can't do this, but there is a difference between, like, you're doing it, you're singing, like, these hymns to people, or you're singing like in choir, or all these different things. There's a difference between that and then, like, where you are now. So how do you go from, like, you're singing and it's a part of your life, to like, no, I want to write my own songs. I want to get a bass guitar, and I want to, like, I want to take this in that direction.
Totally. My first instrument was piano. Starting off, I guess I was in fourth grade when I first started taking piano lessons, and I loved it. But my teacher was a bit harsh and told me my fingers weren't long enough, and that was super, earth shattering and so discouraging when you're a kid and you're like, wow, it's my first instrument, and now I'm being told my fingers aren't long enough. It didn't quite pan out because I feel like moments like that, like, make or break. And I still love playing piano now, but I never really pursued it because I just let that discouragement kind of, get in my head. And growing up in the South, like I mentioned, my second instrument was banjo, which is really funny looking back on now. But I was obsessed with all the finger picks because you can wear like five, like, they look like almost like silver nails or something. And I
Mm-hmm.
loved that aesthetic. And so I started writing songs on banjo. And in high school, I was super into like folk music, like especially like Mumford and Sons was huge at that time. And I just loved the emotional, like the emotions behind the lyrics. And just kind of like have always been into sad music and sad songs that have like, even if it's just a sad undertone. So I guess for me, I started writing my own songs because I needed an outlet, and like, which is, for a lot of us, it's like writing in a journal is great, but then if you can put those words to like a beautiful melody that resonates with you, um, it's just basically like a journal entry coming to life for me. Um, so I guess really it just started off as like a form of therapy, and the words kind of would flow easily when I could like decide on a melody that I liked. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'd start
No.
humming something.
Yeah. No, it does make
Yeah.
sense. And there's something to, like, there's something to, like, when you're journaling, or you're writing in a diary, or you're just writing poetry or prose or whatever. There's something to, like, that bit of writing that you're doing only exists on this paper. And so you're looking for this word, and you're looking for this word, and it's got to be perfect, and it's got to be perfect. And there's like this unfulfilling aspect to that until you find that perfect thing. But when you can put these words to music, that's the bridge, right? Like, the
Yeah.
words don't have to be perfect anymore. And you want
Yeah.
them to be. You want them, but like you were saying, like, when you start putting it to that melody, then something happens, and you're like, way, that's the word I was looking for. But it wasn't, right? But that's the word you hummed. So that word is okay now, right? So
Totally.
like, yeah, that's I don't know, that's something like that bridge, where it's just like it takes like what you're doing and it says, "No, this is the answer now." As opposed to like
Yeah.
you're just searching and you're just searching. Yeah, what were like you mentioned Mumford and Sons specifically.
Okay.
But like what all were you listening to when you were like, I'm gonna write my own songs? Like what were the big like influences other than them or whatever that you're like, oh, this is so cool, or this person is so cool, like I wanna write stuff like that.
Totally. For a long time, I was not allowed to like listen to secular music. And then once, late middle school, early high school, thank God for the internet, I started like branching out and like finding my own stuff and secretly listening. And I remember listening to like Flyleaf and like super just like angsty, like female fronted like bands, or maybe not even angsty, but obviously, always loved like a strong like female lead. And when I was 17, I believe is when 19 by Adele came out. I feel like I'm mentioning so many bands that like people are gonna be like, what if they listen to the music I make now? But I mean, hey, we've all had our ebbs and flows and moments of music that meant a lot to us for many different reasons at the time. But when you're 17 and your heart is breaking every other week, song or albums like 19 by Adele, like, oh, I just love the like vulnerability behind her voice and like her lyrics and her melodies. I think they're so, especially that album, just meant a lot to me. And I think that I took a lot of inspiration at that point, just like writing, just super not being afraid to be vulnerable and like writing a breakup song that like maybe would at one point only exist in your journal that you kept locked away in your room, and like allowing that to come out into the world and being okay with other people listening to it and hearing it, because you realize that we're all so similar in a way that like it can resonate with so many different people, and also like helps them get through the heartbreak they're going through in their own life. And I still feel and think that way about music. I want it to be a release for people listening to it. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
help them with whatever they need in their moment in their life. So I guess that album also, I got super into war paint at one time, and I really like that there's this freedom in music where for so long I thought it had to be like first chorus, bridge, chorus. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
there really is no formula to songwriting, and that's something that has taken me so long to realize. So I'm like, you know what? Half this song's gonna be like this, and then it's just gonna dramatically switch to this. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
that's really awesome. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
sorry, I feel like I kind of am getting sidetracked.
no, that's what we do. We get sidetracked. That's what we do here.
Okay.
Um, but no, I definitely like I heard that throughout the EP for sure. Like you'll have like this super catchy chorus and you're like, yeah, I get what this song is about. And then there's just like a shift, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, and it's almost like, you don't know, like, are we gonna get back to that other thing, or are we kind of ending in this zone right here, and no, it's really appreciated, and it's refreshing because like, what the like what I do as far as like what people think of the music that I write, like generally speaking, what I do is different, but we're always looking for that thing where you stop on a dime and you change the trajectory of people's, like you you trick people, you play on their expectations and you flip it on them. And so like it's really cool to hear that in like different types of songs and stuff, especially like it's feels really subversive in a way where you have this chorus here and you're like, and people are really like bopping along to it, and then it's like, whoa, like that feels dark in a way that like when the whole song is dark, it's not, you know what I mean? It's like not dark anymore because it's just that's where we are.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really interesting. I should have taken like better notes, and I could have pointed specifically at like the song that I feel like had the biggest effect. But
No,
wild
it's totally fun.
wild day today, and ended up taking
Uh,
a car into the mechanic and everything else too. So,
oh God.
but like that's not here or there. But yeah, it's and it's like the part where you're saying like, oh, like yeah, we might think this is weird, you saying this or that, like based on what the EP sounds like. It's just like I think it's funny how like because of what I play, like, and then there's like I'll make a playlist on YouTube or something, and there's like one song that sounds anything like any song that I've ever written, because yeah, I just think it's important to take to have influences from as far away from what you're trying to do as possible, because like I don't know if you're only listening to the thing that you're trying to make, like you're only just going to make the thing that sounds like those other things, right? So
Yeah,
it's got
that's
to
true.
yeah, it's got to come from
I
these
didn't
other
think about it like
places.
that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I mean, like when I chat with someone from with a band that's more outside of what I usually do, and it's always just like sometimes I'll have people hit me up and they'll be like, I know this isn't what you, and I'm like you have no idea how much I listen to mostly stuff that sounds exactly like your band. But then that's true for y'all. Like it's like people have no idea how much I like mostly listen to like now or like like stuff like that, like or like
Totally.
Pixies, like I'm just a girl that likes to listen to girls sing songs. And so it's like
Same.
so like people I think people are surprised when they're like, whoa, we thought it was just going to be like all screaming and like chuggy guitars and stuff. I'm like, no, I hardly listen to that actually, but that's
Yeah.
just yeah, I'm just really mad all the time, so that's what I make, right? But
Totally.
yeah, so I did get to spend some time with the EP, and I really enjoyed it. But like how how much like what was all leading up to this? Like how much can you tell us about your like history of writing your own songs and being in bands and stuff to where you are now?
For sure. I moved to New York in 2018, literally January 1st, drove through New Year's Eve. But prior to that, I had gone to high school in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and that's actually where I was in my first band where I played bass and sang backup. And it's a funny story. There was this duo out of Atlanta called Superbody, and they put out their first album, and one of my friends sent it to me and was like, I think this is right up your alley. I listened to it, I fell in love with it. I wore this album out. I just thought it was so cool that they lived nearby and like we're making this like cool fresh music, and they just seem so cool. Flash forward, they're getting ready to release their second album, and because the world is small and someone knew that I had already sang backups on some other albums, including I did all the female backing vocals for Young Tut, who is a rapper out of Chattanooga, who is absolutely phenomenal. If you have not listened to his album Preacher's Son, you can find my vocals on there. Just a quick shout out. So one of my friends already knew that I had a history of, going in the studio and recording vocals. So they said, hey, this band's Super Body. I don't know if you know them or have heard of them, but they're looking for a female backing vocalist. And I literally freaked the fuck out. Like I was like, no way is my favorite local band or like, nearby band asking if I want to sing backing vocals, or like I might have a chance to do that. So I went to their studio, which was in like an old like law firm. It was so random. And I was like apparently like the eighth girl to like, I was basically doing a tryout, right? So I was like the eighth girl that day or something. They're like, all right, just come in here. We're just gonna try this track, blah blah blah. And then I did it, and it like went well, and whatever. They were like, yeah, like we're gonna use this or whatever. Like, okay, cool. So I thought that was all I was gonna do was just the vocals. I was happy as a peach, whatever. I'm working at Earth Fare, which is like a grocery store chain, and I'm just going into work that day, and I get a phone call from one of the guys from Superbody. And I'm like, oh no, he's probably telling me they have to scrap the vocals or something, whatever. I answer the phone and he's like, hey. I'm like, hey. He's like, so our guitarist had to go to jail. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, so our bassist wants to play guitar, but we don't have a bassist. And I just start laughing and I'm like, okay, I don't play bass. What is this conversation about? And he was like, well, what if we taught you how to play bass and you could play bass with us? And I just said, at the time, I think I was like 18, 19. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Who cares? I'll just do it. So they taught me how to play bass, and that was my first band. And we went on tour together. And yeah, I mean, the band like dissolved later. That's a whole other story. But that was my first time playing bass and singing in a band. So yeah.
That's amazing. Did you
I know.
like and you know that they always say like when the universe presents a door or whatever. You know what I mean? Like don't let it close on you or however that saying goes, right? And you didn't, right? And that's I'm always like I'm like just say yes to that. Just do that. Like don't be
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. The worst that you can do is be bad, but being bad is something to me is 100 times better than like just not doing it. So
absolutely.
I swear to God, I've never been happier. I swear to God, I've never been happier. I swear to God, I've never been happier. I swear to God, I've never been, I've never been.
so when you go over there and you never like played bass before or whatever, but you had been playing banjo. So did you feel like it came more naturally to you because of that, or was it still just like, look, I had like a learning curve, but I got there?
It definitely kind of did come natural just from like, I had always been messing around with a guitar or a bass a
Hmm.
little bit already, just like on my own, but not like more so like guitar. Like everyone normally has like, or not everyone, but we always kind of had like a shitty acoustic guitar laying around. So I was pretty familiar, and especially with banjo too, like with stringed instruments already. So I think it definitely helped. I will say though, Superbody was an 80s pop group, and playing 80s pop bass for your first project, I basically had to go through boot camp. And the lead singer of that band was insane. and he would just basically make us run the songs until our fingers were bleeding, which sounds really harsh. And I kind of did hate him during those moments, but it did really help me like get a feel for the bass in a really like quick way, I would say. And
Yeah.
also, he was like, "You're not allowed to use a pick," which like now looking back, I'm like, damn, like I wish I kind of was more comfortable using a pick. Like I still could, but I very much so I use my fingers. That's it. And I love that I can do that because some people are the opposite and they're like, oh, I only can play with a pick. Like I'm not good at finger picking. So, it's like the grass is always greener on the other side, but I would like to practice using a pick better. But no, I think like definitely him making me run, scales and the songs over and over again definitely helped me. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's bonkers because like you say 80s pop and bass, and I'm immediately thinking of like Duran Duran bass lines and stuff, and I'm like like I've been playing bass for a long time, and you put one of those in front of me right now, I'm gonna have a hard time. So like, so yeah, that is awesome, and you definitely, I I wonder. Was there a reason for the no pick? Were they talking about like the sound, or they didn't like the aesthetic? Was it a combination of both, or?
It could be, like since I was basically, they recruited me to play songs that they had already written. So
Uh
I was
huh.
essentially like a live band member. So the guy who had written the bass and already recorded it for both of their albums, he didn't use a pick. So if anything, I just think it was like, he's like, well, this is how I play. This is how it is on the album. Like, this is how I want it to sound live. And
Oh
I just
right.
didn't really question. I just said, you know what? This is your music and I'm happy to be here. So I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
And
yeah.
honestly, yeah.
It just blanked on me for a second that like the person who did that was still there. It was the other person that was otherwise occupied at that point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
Yeah, so that does make more sense. Like in a like these parts are my babies, way. That being like, we're gonna handle this the way that I handled it, and kind of. But yeah, uh, I I played, I was kind of in I was already playing guitar or whatever, but I was kind of in the same thing the first time I really played bass. It was like a band needed a bass player. They were like, "You can learn these songs, you could go on tour with us. You can," and I was just like, my whole world is opening up right now. I've got to do this, right? And but they were just like, "You can play with a pick, or you can play with your fingers," and I already was playing guitar, so I'm like, of course, with a pick. And it wasn't until years later where I was like, I wonder if I could play with just my fingers. And like I can, but
Yeah.
not like some people can, Um and I always imagined that being way harder that way. Like if you've been playing with a pick and you try playing with your fingers, I always imagine that being way harder. But you still play with your fingers, and you're like, nah, the pick just never really got comfortable with that.
No, it does. It feels like, for me, it just feels like a disconnect, like because there's an object in my mind. I know people say like when you use picks, it's just an extension of yourself, at least it's supposed to be. But like for me, it feels like an obstacle,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's like focusing on it, and also it really is like we have so many tiny little muscles in our hands and our arms and all throughout our body that I feel like it really does take practice. And not saying it's impossible, like I just need to practice, but at the same time I feel so comfortable just fingers,
Yeah.
touching the string. So I think, it's different for everyone, but that's what works for me. And like
Yeah.
I like with weird little muscles in my forearms.
Mm-hmm. I I'm in no way advocating for the use of a pick in bass. I can't keep a pick in my hands most of the time when I'm playing guitar. So like you will see me playing with just like like strumming with the sides of my fingers on guitar a lot.
Totally.
Like so if there was a more practical way of playing guitar without a pick, I probably would, but like, not in fast punk songs and stuff. It's just not that.
Oh yeah, your
Uh,
fingers would just be
oh, they
bleeding.
are. They're mostly, and there is definitely like the my index and second finger on my strumming hand are particularly scarred at the top because of things like that. But that is what it is. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so once you said that band, that ran its course and stuff, but you did get to go on like tour and did you record any albums with that band before the sort of disillusionment happened there
Uh,
or
no, I didn't. They just basically were a band for those two albums,
uh-huh.
that they had already recorded before I started. And we never crossed into that like writing process together. Because I mean, they were essentially a duo who had a live band, and
Oh,
one of
okay.
them basically wrote the songs, and the other one was like basically the engineer who would also play like synth live. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of one of
Sure.
those. It was like their bedroom project, and they wanted to make it a live band. So I never really got to write anything with them. But as I said, I really did like the music they already had. So I was just so happy to be able to sing it live with them and play bass with them.
Yeah. And what was that like? Like, you were talking before, like how there was this, like you almost had to like sneak your way into like secular music. Um, so then you're just like in this band, and you're like, I'm going on tour. Like, what was that whole situation like? Was there like pushback from your folks, and you're just like, well, whatever. I'm like an adult. I'm gonna go and do this. And then what was the tour like? Like, did it just was it everything you had hoped it would be to go to get out there and play these shows?
Yeah, well, first things first, when I posted I was going on tour with my band, I felt like the coolest girl in the whole entire world. I was literally like ecstatic. I was like, bye, I'm getting to this town, even though it was like a 10-day tour up the East Coast. But I was so, so happy. But at that point, I guess at that point I was like 20, 21. My memory is kind of bad, but my family, like my parents divorced the week I turned 18 and both split and both moved out of town. So, you know, the week after my 18th, I'm on Craigslist finding a random room in Chattanooga. That's kind of, I realize, seems weird going from talking about them being jail ministers and pastors to that, but there was like a crazy 4 years where everything kind of fell apart. And so, all that to say, they didn't really know much about what was going on in my life, and I didn't really tell them because I was trying to figure out everything. They were going through the drama that is divorce, and I just kind of kept my distance from them. So I didn't really get any pushback because they didn't really know what was going on.
Sure.
And then on top of that, wait, I forget what the third question was.
Oh, well, I mean, it's just that's just got to be like you already said like you're just so excited to like get out there and go. But then once you like
Oh,
get up on stage and you're doing this, like you're playing these shows out on tour, like what was that like? Was it everything you thought or
it was. Well, no, it wasn't everything like I thought. I mean, I had imagined what going on tour would be like, but you learn a lot just being out on the road in general. Like just a road trip, you learn things about people you're traveling with. So on top of that, to you know basically be booking yourself, get to these small venues, figuring out where to sleep, all the
Mhm.
ins and outs of going on a DIY tour. It's like there were some moments because it was me and four guys, you know what I mean? And we're
Mhm.
all like our early 20s and we're just figuring it out. And it's like, it was difficult sometimes being the only girl and like them just being like, oh, okay, like I don't know. I haven't really thought about it in a while, but yeah, it was super fun. It was amazing, amazing, amazing to travel. I had never really been anywhere besides like Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida. So going up north, like it was my first time going to New York, and I just fell in love, which I think is why I've been here for 8 years now. I mean, I didn't move until years later after this tour, but it definitely planted a seed of like, oh, I want to get the hell out of where I'm at and be there.
Mhm. What was it about New York specifically that spoke to you over like any of these other, possibly major cities that you were visiting?
Um, you know, it's tough because it was also my first time to Philly too, and I also really love Philly, and I still do. I've never lived there, but I love being able to visit and that it's so close. But I think with New York, like it's hard to describe. There was just like this feeling of I could be whoever I want. Like, coming from small town in the South, being like an ex-pastor's kid, being so controlled my whole life. I just felt like New York was so vast and so big, and I just wanted to go somewhere where I could go get coffee and not bump into like my middle school boyfriend's mom and her asking me when I'm gonna text Benjamin, and you know what I mean? I really just wanted to go somewhere and kind of disappear, to be honest, and to find my people. And yeah, and now that I've been here for 8 years, I'm like, oh my God, even New York is a small town sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's another story. But like, I'm just still so happy to be here. And I think it's so cool that I could wake up every day and then go explore a neighborhood I haven't even been to yet because the city truly is so vast.
Yeah. Um, on that tour, was was your show in New York better than other shows? Or were they kind of all on par with one another as far as turnout, or like the conditions of the venue, or the sound, or things like that?
It was 10 shows and they were all quite weird.
Uh-huh.
New York show was, I wouldn't say it was the best at all. I mean, we played at Gold Sounds, which is a small venue, and there were probably like 15 people there, but two of those 15 people were my friends who had been living in New York for a few years. And I think seeing friendly faces when you're on tours, especially in bigger cities, is so nice. And then, when we played in Boston, my older brother came and got to see me play music for the first time. Like each show had something special that really stood out. I think my favorite show was we played this like house show, of course, this basement in Akron, Ohio. And I don't remember the name of it, but it's one of those like college houses that have been passed down from generation to
Was it a
generation. And
cling thing?
what is it?
A cling thing?
Is that the name of the venue or the
There is
house?
one called that. Yeah.
I would have to ask some of my old bandmates or do some research, but I was told that it was an iconic or like
That
house venue that had been
sounds.
passed down.
I mean, that
So
sounds like it. Yeah.
it very well could have been with a backyard.
Oh, I've it's weird. The only time I played in Akron, we could not play there, but we played like another thing, which was really cool. But like a
Okay.
cling thing is like this. I mean, they've been doing it for like probably 25 years or something now, and they actually small victories in the DIY world or whatever. But there was a situation a couple of years ago where the owner was like, "All right, it's time for you all to get out. Like I'm selling the place," and they did a GoFundMe and they bought the place. So
Yo, that's
yeah, yeah.
awesome.
So it's like small victories for DIY, but they were able to manage to crowdfund the rest of what they needed, and save this basically like legendary like house venue. So but yeah, I'd be surprised if it wasn't that, like, because you're talking about like they've been doing something there and it's a house and it's been years and years of doing that. Like that's the first place that comes to mind for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's awesome, like that. You just sort of like ended up there in this band. You got to go and do like what something you've always dreamed of, and then like you even like found out through this situation where you wanted to be in life, at least up until now. And like how does this move forward to where like you're there and you're starting this band?
Well, when I first moved to New York, like obviously I knew that I wanted to continue to play music and, find the right people that were, you know, kind of wanting to make similar stuff or just purely create together. And kind of reality set in and New York is not like Chattanooga at all. When I was living in Chattanooga, I was working 3 or 4 days a week at a vintage clothing store in a house with like 8 people. My rent was like $200 a month. I was literally just like able to actually live how a human should live, I think.
Yeah.
And moving to New York, like not coming from a wealthy family or parents that can help me out, it's really just, you gotta grind. And so I immediately had to get 2 or 3 jobs, and in a blink of an eye, the first 5 years went by and I was not in a band. I was creating here and there. I was writing on my own, of course. Um, but I just could not seem to find the time. I would start, a band with some friends I had met in the music scene, and they would always kind of just dissolve on their own organically, just taper off because scheduling, and it was
Yeah.
just everyone would always say, like, oh, well, we just never have time, like, blah, blah, blah. And like, it just took me so long to finally start making enough money to pay my rent and pay my bills and then have a night a week I could just dedicate to band practice. And that started happening about 3 years ago when I met, well, I had already known Anais because we bartended together. But we used to sing karaoke together. And then I remember like one night we just were like drunk and we like, we should sing a band together. And, I was so excited, but that little voice in the back of my head was just like, is the same thing just going to happen again where we get together and then for 2 times and then we just never do it again. But something, me and Anais are both Aries, and like we really just kind of light each other's fire, I think, in the best way. And I think we just really held each other accountable. And we were like, no, it's going to be hard, but we have to make time for this if this is what we want to do. And
Hmm.
so I think meeting her, like they say, it's like once you meet that person that you just kind of click with on that, I feel like creative level and like that energy level, I just don't think that I might still not be in a band without her. I just really needed someone to hold me accountable and responsible and make sure I was making time to do what I love.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It it is like the the more like that your time is eaten up by like these different responsibilities, and it's not just like, well, I don't have like all of this excess time anymore, but it's like the fact that as human beings, like you need time to just like exist and let all of that other stuff like melt away before you can even think about like being creative sometimes. So it's like,
Totally.
unless there is this situation where it's like, you're like, yeah, then like, we can make time to meet up, like me and this other person, and like you're saying, like, you know, like ideas just start happening, and it's like it's kickstarting that, like, otherwise, like, oh gosh, I need to like sit here for 3 hours to let everything else shitty that's happened this week sort of like run its course through my brain, and then I can get creative. Like having that other person there is like a a godsend, for lack of a better word, where you're just like, yeah, yeah, that's it, let's go, yeah, yeah. And that's awesome that you're able to find that in one another.
Yeah.
So did you immediately, like, you two start writing songs together, passing ideas back and forth, or were you like both kind of like on the like, okay, we need to find other people to like make this a proper thing, and then we'll start going?
At first it was just her and I for a few months, and it was just us kind of like sharing ideas, talking about, the things that were going on in our life that we wanted to write a song about, even if we didn't have the lyrics yet. It was kind of just like, well, like this made me feel this way. And then it would just be like a fun way for us to be like, okay, what if we sang this about that?
Hmm.
And then um, some of the songs I had just had written down and, notes on my phone or journal entries from a long time ago that I kind of wanted to resurrect and like finally be able to like breathe life into them. in a way. So it was like a mixture of that. And then once we started getting a couple songs that we were feeling like good about, Anais was like, "Oh, I know this great drummer." And I knew him too from the scene, but not as well as she did. So she was like, "I can reach out to him." And I'm like, "Okay, awesome." So she reached out to him and he basically was like, "I can come by." Like he didn't like commit and be like, "I'll be in your band."
Yeah.
He was just like, "Well, let's just jam it out and like let's see what happens," type stuff. And he came and then he never left, so I think he likes it. And then after that, we were like, well, let's get another guitarist in here. And Anais had played with this guy named Adam years before at another band that I think was more like emo, like screamo band. And she was like, he's an amazing guitarist. Like, let's see if he'll come. And he kind of did the same thing. He's like, I can't join another band. Like, my girlfriend's gonna kill me if I join another band, but I'll come by and I'll just kind of help you guys if you guys need any like help with like the song structures, which was super nice of him. And he came by that one time, and I remember we were leaving practice that night and he starts talking about, well, what if we did this here? What if we did this here? And me and Anais kind of smirked at each other and we were like, well, I guess you're in the band. And he was like, I guess. And so then after that, it's just been us four for the past 3 years.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Did you ever think I might want you around? Was it a hard choice to make? I don't think it was. I don't think it was.
it's funny, like, the like um the like I can't be in another band, and then it's just like, yeah, but I don't know. I'm not in a band like this, right? So like
Exactly.
and it's like, you know, um I don't know how that goes over with the significant other that, might have been opposed to that, but obviously it worked out in the long run.
It
Anyway.
worked out. They're still together.
Yeah, beautiful. So that's a happy ending for that then. Um
Yeah.
so you're saying this all started coming together 3 years ago. Is this the first? Is I swear the first recording that you all have released, or were there other things that you recorded, like more like demos for y'all, for yourselves, things like that, or was it just like, you know, the sort of scarcity of being able to only get together this often, and then just like really fine tuning everything and getting everything to this point?
Totally. There's like a lot of obviously, voice recordings and stuff over the past 3 years, but we didn't play our first show until April of 2024. So I guess we're coming up on 2 years of our first show anniversary. I think like the first year, it was just getting together, writing, figuring out kind of like what are we? What is the sound going to be? And there were a lot of life things that like happened with like people traveling, like you said, like not being able to get together on like a regular basis. And I think it was a very slow burn, but like the flame never fully went out. It would just kind of it would dim here and there as like things in life do, like with the ebb and flow. It's like, and then we'd get like really, really like, super excited about a new song that we had written and we would practice every week for a month. And then life things happen and you have four people living in New York City. It's a miracle we can even get together once or twice a month, but or much, like once a week, which is what we aim for,
Hmm.
now. But yeah, so this is like our first recording, our first release, and we decided a long time ago, like, let's do it right. Like, let's like spend the money. We're one of those bands, like we save our money from shows and we let it, accumulate because it's really nice to not have to pay anything out of pocket if we can avoid it. Obviously, it's damn near impossible sometimes when it comes to merch and stuff like that, and recording, which is so expensive, but we like just wanted to make sure we did it right. So I think we recorded, I swear, maybe close to 6 months ago, and it just came out a week ago today. So that even was like kind of it took some time, but I'm fine with things taking time, when they mean a lot, and like just making sure that maybe not that things are done like perfect or right. Like I wouldn't say we're perfectionists, but I think we just want to make sure that it's being put out in the world like the way that we want it to, and that it sounds the way we want it to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the flip side of that is that, like, you know, a project can materialize very quickly and produce a piece of work, whereas in 2 3 years down the line, the band is like a whole different animal, and they're like, well, we don't really play that anymore. So which way is really,
Yeah,
which way is better? Like it is what it is. It doesn't, like, I mean, I think that has a charm to it as well, where it's just like, oh, this first EP doesn't
absolutely.
sound anything like. A really good example of that is the band Piebald. People know this band from like super catchy like emo pop songs, but their first EP was like borderline screamo. um, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's just, I don't think either one is a correct path, or more correct than the other, but it's just like, yeah, you got to where you are and you're like, this is what we are, like, in a way that like past that other thing, by just like really letting yourself find where you wanted to land before you just like were like, okay, let's record 3 songs and then, like, oh yeah, we don't sound like that anymore or whatever. But
yeah. And looking back, I kind of wish that we would have recorded something sooner. Just because, I mean, but the thing is, for me, it's like I love going back to listen to our old voice memos, which is like, I guess, our version of our demo,
demos,
whatever,
yeah,
that
yeah,
like was never released. It's my favorite thing. I was so hard on myself back then, but like going back to listen, like how the songs used to sound, like I just think it's cool now. I think
yeah,
it's cool to see how far you've come and be able to have that and like compare it to where you're at now. So no, I love when bands get together and like 2 weeks later they're like, okay, let's just like record a demo. Like
yeah,
I think that's rad.
yeah,
Yeah, that's another thing, like what we were talking about earlier. There really is no like wrong or right way to do music because it's your art. You know what I mean? It's your art form, and you can do whatever you want and release when you want to, or never release it. I mean, I hope everyone does because I want to hear what people make. But at the end of the day, it's yours to do with what you want. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. It's this is like, this conversation in general is hitting me like at a really like appropriate time as well, because like this isn't music, but we're harkening back to where we were talking about like verse chorus, etc. And I'm thinking about this like story that I've been working on for a really long time, and I'm like, well, I know how this starts, and I know so many things that happen in it, but is there like, is and I know how it ends, and I'm like, but is there a plot? Is there an arc for these characters? Is there this? Is there that? Or is it just a bunch of things that happen in during this period of time that connect together? And uh,
Yeah,
and I'm like so worried about that I haven't even started this thing. And I'm like, I mean, I have started. Like, I've written, like, I haven't started drawing it yet, but I've written like the first like 12 or so pages of the like it's a more like finished like script than I usually do. But anyway, the point is like I'm so worried about this. Like I should try to do this like the right way or whatever. When I've literally never done any of my stuff the right way before. Like why do I care now? And it's
Yeah.
just like yeah, I don't know. Like it goes back to also what I was saying. It's just like doing it is better than not doing it. Because like, what am I gonna spend like what am I going to spend 5 more years thinking this through and trying to do whatever um like none of us even know if we got 5 more years at any given
Oh,
time,
I
you know?
know.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
like I love stuff that like doesn't quite have like a set plot. I think it's really cool because I think it leaves things more open-ended for everyone's own like perception on it. And like I don't know, like even when it comes to like movies and TV shows, I love stuff where sometimes it's just a bunch of like random scenes with random people like happening, and then you can make up in your head like, does that person know that person? Are they going to cross paths here? Have they already? Like I kind of love stuff like that because it just like it helps you like explore with your own imagination. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like you present the visuals and then you let them kind of like go off in their heads. Like I like stuff like that, you know?
yeah, yeah. There's so much to like music and films, TV, like reading comics, all this stuff. There's so much of it that like it can be social, like our intake of it. It can be social. Like we can watch a movie with other people and we can talk about the movie with other people. But when we're talking about that, like it's still a one-on-one experience. Like you're filling in the blanks like in your mind, for all these things. And you're the only person that can take that way.
Yeah.
And that person that made that, those people that made that, they were the only people that could have made that way too. And so it's like, all of these experiences that like are a part of this, you still have the one like innate experience in your own mind of receiving it the way that you do. And so yeah, I don't know. I'm telling myself right now, like, stop being a dummy about it. Just like go for it. Just like you
You
like
should.
going over to the studio and doing those backing vocals, and now you end up like making an EP. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome. So you get the songs down. You like are like, okay, we're ready. We're ready to go in. How did you find the place that you wanted to record at? Was it so, like other people in the band have recorded there before? Like was this your first like recording also?
Yeah, this was my first time
Okay.
being in a professional studio ever. Everyone else had been before.
Hmm.
So it was super, super exciting, but also super nerve-wracking because you're like, oh my God, I'm not worthy to
Hmm.
be in here with all this nice ass equipment. But our drummer Lewis, he had actually recorded there before with I think two of his other bands. So he knew the guy pretty well. And I will say it took us months to decide who to record with because obviously living in New York and being in the music scene, we have so many friends at this point in our life who have their own studios or know someone who think could do a great job for us. And I don't want to say it was a fight, but it was definitely a big conversation. And we really had to weigh out our options because there was a time I wanted to go with someone different. And then we had to really talk about that. But we ultimately decided on our friend, Garrett DeBlock, who he works at Soundwork International in the East Village. But he actually rents out this really cool recording studio in Long Island City called Pinch Recording. And it was all of our first time there because I guess that Lewis had recorded in a different studio with him when they had recorded. So it was kind of I kind of liked that all four of us had never been there before because it was a new experience for all of us. And I think that kind of I don't want to say like helped in a way or not, but I just think that we were on the same page that day we recorded.
Sure.
Um, and it was a bit nerve wracking because that studio is very, very nice and pretty new to my understanding. And it was it was worth it, but it was expensive. And we had one day to record everything. And our goal was basically let's record as many songs as we can. And then we were gonna do like touch ups and like more guitar stuff and the vocals at his space in the East Village at Soundwork. So it was a big day, but we practiced a lot before we went in, and we only had to run each song I think like 2 or 3 times max, which is best case scenario. Obviously, I say obviously, I didn't know that, but they were like, no, that's a good recording day.
Yeah, no,
You only have to run the songs a couple times.
yeah, for sure. Um, I mean, I don't. Did you all record more or less live?
Yeah, we recorded live.
Okay, so um, yeah, that's for a first time recording. I think that's a definite plus because you don't get isolated from the rest of the band in that very first experience where it's like, okay, now that the drums are down, like you come in here with no one else and put the bass on, like to these, you know, drum tracks, like
I would not have liked that. I don't
yeah,
think. I can't say for sure because that's not what happened. But I really love playing live
hmm
with them, and like I just, I don't consider myself at all like what do you say, like a studio musician. Like I very much so am like alive. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but like I just like playing live with them, and it made me feel a lot more comfortable for sure. Us all being in a big open room together.
yeah, I yeah, I don't know. Like there's been times when I've done recordings where like everything has been track by track, and the bass will go first or like whatever. And I mean, I could even on songs where I wrote the whole song and I wrote the bass and I'm gonna record the bass, like I still can't do the bass first, like after the drum. Like I gotta put a guitar there or something because I don't
Oh
know,
yeah.
it feels so it feels so different. Like
Stripped down.
yeah,
Yeah.
guitar has such an arrogance to it that like even if you play kind of bad, like it fills out the space in a way that everything else is like, okay, like I feel a little more relaxed now, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. Um, whereas like just bass and drums, you're like, okay, I need to absolutely be 100% locked in. I need to be in this pocket. I need to be, and it's just like it's too much pressure.
I also like don't like click tracks, and I understand what they're for, but I remember like having a breakdown one time because I think I just get in my head so much about it, and I think definitely, and we've talked about it, like our songs are like imperfect imperfect in like a way where it's like it's really we more so focus like on the feel, and like we actually just had a fill-in drummer for the first time, and it was very eye-opening in a way that I almost didn't even realize how much our songs fluctuate and like speed and time and like feel because it's been us four for so long. So, and the guy that filled in for us, our friend Frankie, he's an incredible drummer, amazing. And he learned like 9 of our songs in 2 weeks. So, like, just wonderful.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like, he was like, he was like, wow, I wasn't expecting like the songs to be, it's so much give and take our songs. And we're
Sure.
like, okay, we slowly start naturally speeding up here. And I think every band does that, especially when you're playing live as well. But I mean, even in our recordings, like I can hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
click track for me is like difficult. I'm like, like,
Yeah, there's people, that it's like, oh, it's gonna like the click is here and it's gonna speed up or it's gonna slow down a little bit right here, like, and they do that with the click still going, like, and I'm like, this doesn't compute to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm like if the click is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, then I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Like I can't like. How are you gonna tell me like to stay on that and then just like let it go when it's you know, like but I don't know. I've also been involved in situations where like the click track has been pre-made to uh to to uh to take that into effect, right? Where the click will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the click will cut, like the speed will cut or the speed will change, and that's also very weird too because it happens like almost on a dime, and then you're like, okay, well we're just here now. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I love like I love that very superhuman feel about music where when you're speeding up or you're slowing down or like whatever it is, like I love this thing that happens sometimes where you can't really tell like is this gonna work, and then it works, and
Yeah.
it's like a miracle, and you're like that was so fucking cool, right? Like that's I don't know, that's part of it for me. So
Yeah, that's how I feel with the drums sometimes because like Lewis is I think like the best drummer in the world and he does these crazy fills sometimes where like I'll like look at him while we're playing live with like my mouth open because I'm like, how did you fit that fill into this
yeah,
song right now? And perfectly on time because like I'm not changing anything, right? Like I'm playing the
yeah,
same like the rhythm on the bass or whatever, and then and like he just changes it around sometimes because he's just having fun behind the kit, and he'll be like, and then he lands right there, and I just have to look at him just like in amazement. I'm just like, wow, that was awesome. I
yeah.
love that you can do that.
I've told this story before, but there's a song where I actually had to just like I actually just had to mute the drum track while I was recording the guitars for this one song because the drums were so fucking wild, and I was like I don't get how this works, and I just was like going on to the part. I'm just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So I just like recorded the guitar, and then I'm just like, okay, now I'm gonna move it to where it's supposed to be, and I'm gonna see do these drums like genuinely line up, and it was perfect. And I was like, that
No
makes
way.
no sense. And like it's just yeah, sometimes you're just like, how's this gonna work? And you just have to like in your own brain, you just have to la 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 la, and then you wind up in the right spot, and you're like, once you get it, then you like get it, and you're like, oh right. Um, but I don't know, like I think that's awesome. Like when you're just like, okay, I don't know, but I'm gonna take this leap of faith. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and then when you hit back up on that one or whatever that you like link back up on, and you're like fuck, and you, like your mind is blown. It's awesome.
Yes, or like two of our songs we end super abruptly all together. And like I would say like we've gotten pretty good at it. Like 9 out of 10 times we're just like dead on. But like, like those 1 out of 10 times someone will forget to like hit their pedal or something and there will be like a little bit of sound. But what a good feeling it is when we all just like hit that last note together and then like it's dead silent in the crowd and everyone's kind of like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
I love those moments so much.
Yeah, it's like unexpected, like in a style that y'all generally like hang around in as well, where it's just like you know you're going, then it's just like vacuum, just
Yep.
silence, and like oh there's that second before the
Do
clap,
we
which is
clap
yeah,
now? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay, cool, awesome, yeah, that's awesome. So like um you said that the recording was more or less finished 6 months ago. What were the like from when you get done with this recording until now? Like, what were the steps there where you're like, we're gonna make sure that this has the time it needs to, like, for us to get everything done that we need to get done before this is released? Like, what was happening during those 6 months where everything was falling in line for you?
Right. Well, I'm looking now, like when we got our masters back in my email, and it was September 6th. So I guess like 5 months, whatever.
Okay.
It doesn't matter, 5, 6 months. But basically, there was a lot of talk about like PR stuff, like how do we promote this stuff, and then like there was just like a time period where I don't even. It's one of those things where you're like, where the hell does the time go?
Sure.
Like, and I think we're just all four of us work so much, and then Adam and Lewis are both in like many other bands, and it's like there's a lot of scheduling stuff. But I remember the few times like we would meet up to talk about just grab a beer and specifically talk about the release of the EP, right? Like not band practice, just like strategy and stuff. We're just talking about, we don't have a huge online presence right now. It's like, we don't have anyone like running our social media and stuff like that. It's all us. And it was basically just like, how do we want to release this, And it kind of got to the point where things kept happening and then not happening. I think we all just kind of said, we need this out. We need to release this, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? It's our first EP. And I think the thing that was most important to us is like, hey, if we don't have music online, how are people going to be able to even listen to us when they see our name on a show flyer and know that they want to pay $15 to see us? It's like,
Right.
some, I think that was the big, like, it was like not the last straw, but it was like the big, like, fire under us just to be like, let's just release it. Like, let's stop trying to take this so seriously. And the PR sense of the way of like let's get it out there. So I basically, just uploaded everything to DistroKid myself after we got the masters and stuff and decided on the release date from 4 weeks from there. So, it can be absorbed into the different streaming platforms. And yeah, we just did it all ourselves. And, the photo of the EP cover is like a film photograph that I took like maybe 2 or 3 years ago of some dying flowers in my house. And I just always had such a strong connection to that photo. And it just feels really cool to do everything yourself. And it also, I feel like, made us all really proud. Like, just to even see your name on a streaming platform with your songs attached to it is like such a incredible feeling. So I would say there was a lot and a lot of nothing happening in those 5 months since we
Yeah.
got it. It's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, sure. The only reason I asked that the way I did is because sometimes there is just like it's like, oh well, we had this like show that was on this day, so we just like we were gonna do it earlier, but we decided to push it back, or like oh well this day was my aunt's birthday and she meant a lot, it could have been a million things. So that's what
Totally.
I was getting at there. But yeah. People should definitely go and check out the EP if they haven't already. And they will obviously have heard some of it just throughout this conversation. Um, but and you also have a show coming up February 26th. What else can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'm really excited about that show. It'll be our second time playing this venue. It's called Cassette. It's in Ridgewood, and it's like a basement venue that actually has really good sound. Um, uh, sorry, just kind of lost my track of thought. But yeah, I'm really excited to play there. We're playing with two bands that I've never seen live and we've never played with before, called Star Card and Daisies. And our friend Bob from Lobster Tooth Records, he booked the show and put it together. And he's a very like intentional person, I feel like, when it comes to shows. Like he really wants to match up bands with bands that kind of like he thinks that we're gonna mesh well together.
Hmm.
And I listened to some songs by both of those bands, and I am just genuinely excited just to see them. Like as much as I am excited to play the show, like I cannot wait to hear these bands live because I really have enjoyed what I've been listening to online. um, so yeah, come out. It's next Thursday, the 26th at 8 p.m. I believe.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that when like you've never heard a band and then you either check them out before the show or like you've never heard and you just show up and you get sort of get your mind blown. Like either way, that's awesome.
Both are great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so Yeah, I mean, it's been great chatting with you. I try to keep these at around an hour, and that's where we're at now. But
Cool.
before we go, like I do like to open up the floor to you if there was anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about, like feel free to throw that out there.
Yeah, I'll just say like, genuine connection means a lot to me and Anais and Adam and Lewis. And I've haven't been in many bands, but I do think what we have is really special and we're really excited. We've got 3 or 4 new songs we're working on now. And, obviously our plan is to try to get a full album out, if not by the end of this year, by early 2027, if we're all still around. So, um,
You just have to
dark
get
but
more than one
true.
day in the studio this time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
Anais has someone that she really wants to record it. And so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But just like, just want to say, like, if you're sitting on music that maybe you're feeling self conscious about, or maybe you're feeling, just insecure about sharing it, just don't be scared. Like, life is short, and I want to hear what you're creating and what you're making. And I'm sure lots of other people do too. And just know that there's people out there that are going to relate to your music because we as humans are all so similar, whether we realize it or not. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
And that was my conversation with Angel Christian. Thank you so much, Angel, for taking the time to chat with me. Make sure you all head over to genuineconnection.bandcamp.com and check out the EP. Thanks so much to all of y'all for listening wherever you are as well. Head over to patreon.com/humanmachine to see what we've got going on over there. And until next time, take care and do good things.